What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Marek, and I'm here with my beautiful wife,
Kothney-Issa.
And my precious baby girl. And we back with another video. It's been a long time, man. It feels like it's been a while since we just sat down and did this whole sit down and talk. But we got to talk tonight because we got some very, very big and exciting news.
Yes.
Probably already spoiled by the title. But before we get to that, we wanted to answer a question that we've been getting for a long time.
Yes. And are we going to have a P.O Box? And yes, the answer is yes, we do. It's on the screen right now.
First of all, we don't expect anything from anybody.
At all.
Right? But we got a lot of virtual aunties, virtual uncles that have been asking for this for a long time. And so, like Granny used to say, don't block your blessings.
Yeah. But we're asking for y'all not to send any gifts because y'all know we live in a tiny home. So we would appreciate if you are feeling inclined to gift us with something, send gift cards to our P.O Box. So, yeah.
Ready for the big surprise? It's not a surprise. It's already in the title. But we want to build a tiny house community.
Yes, here at home in Kansas City, Missouri, and we're so excited about that. But before we get too far into this video, we do want to tell you that we do have a survey that we would like you to take that is also in the description box down below. Please take 5 minutes. It's only 11 questions.
We want everybody's feedback, but especially if you live in the Kansas City area, you're in a tiny house, interested in getting a tiny house, have one in storage already, and you think that this community is something that you might be interested in, we are especially seeking out that kind of feedback. But anybody else that just wants to help us out or support our project, for starters, if you could answer the first 4 questions at least. We have our first official meeting with the city on December 3rd, and it would be amazing if we could take some positive feedback from supporters to that meeting to really show that there's a need for this. And that it's beneficial and that it'll help the city.
Yes.
All right, so the tiny house community. We actually been planning this for a long time. I don't know if you remember, but before we moved back from Dallas, we were doing videos where we visited Tennessee. We were about to go out to Cali to look, and there was like all these different ideas that we were kind of bouncing off the walls. But really, ever since the time when we announced that we were moving back home to Kansas City, we pretty much knew that this is what we wanted to do. We are in the very, very early stages, right? Don't hit our email or our comments and be like, hey, how can I apply? And put me on the wait list. We're not ready to take applications. Yes. We don't have any type of, structure around like wait lists or anything like that. We're probably still at least a full year out from this. But the reason we want to announce it now and start talking about it is so that it can kind of be like a journey, and we can take you guys along with us, and you can see every step of the way and see what it takes and how much goes into like a community development project.
Yes.
And working with a city on something like this.
Yeah, because it's been taking quite a bit of our time these past few weeks. So it's good for us to document it so y'all can see what we're doing throughout the week.
All right, so the big question I think is like, what does it take? How do you create a tiny house community? What's the first step? What do you have to do? And that's kind of where we're at right now. Yes. We've been taking a lot of steps so far, actually.
The number one step that you have to do for anything is really plan. So that's what we've been doing the most of, is like planning. It kind of all has to happen next to each other, which is kind of stressful because you have to think about buying land. You have to think about getting your stuff ready, your proposals and plans and site plans ready for the city meeting. And it's just like a lot. And you have to think about financing. So it all has to happen like kind of simultaneously, and that's a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, this week, our week has consisted of being on the phone with an architect, to then jumping off the phone to talking to a realtor, to then going to different sites in Kansas City and like scoping out different places and parcels that we're thinking about purchasing, to then talking to the city and planning meetings. And there's just been so much that's gone into it. We actually have our first preliminary site plan drafted. We're going to do another video where we go a deep dive into the site plan, exactly how many units we're going to have, how they're going to be set up, talk about our communal spaces and all of that stuff. So I don't want to get too far ahead. But it's just been a whirlwind of putting everything together. Like I said before, we have our first meeting with the city on December 3rd, which is basically an opportunity for us to show them, who we are, what we're all about, why we want to do this, and to show them everything that we've put together so far, and to get kind of our first impression for You know, there's been preliminary discussions via
Mm-hmm.
email, but this is the first opportunity for us to really get some true feedback for our plan and what considerations they might see in it, and how we have to kind of work and navigate to create something that's beneficial to all parties and that all parties, you know, agree with and accept.
Yes. Yes.
So. What else have we done so far? That's a question we got down here. So far, we've been looking at different land sites. We almost went under contract. We're really close to going under contract on this beautiful 4-acre piece of property
Yes.
here. We've had several landscape companies come out and give us estimates because the property is pretty much completely covered in trees, and we'll have to clear quite a bit of it to make the space for where we want to bring the homes in. But we're at that point. We're trying to negotiate and come to a good deal on it. There's just been a few little hangups that we're trying to work through right now. We also, like I said, we're on the agenda for the December 3rd
Yes.
DAT session. What else
There's
have we done? We've got preliminary site plans. We've been working with some
mm-hmm.
freelance landscape architects to draw that up.
We've also been doing a lot of research. I think that is the key in this, really. Like, we've been researching a lot about like the different zoning codes and ordinances of the city, learning a lot about like the people that run it and how it's done and what the planning stages are and what it'll look like. So it's kind of like being I was telling Marek the other night, like, it's like we're going back to school. Like, we got a lot of learning to do, and then being able to apply it and getting this thing approved so we can get our project started.
Yeah. If somebody was to ask us why we want to do this and what's the purpose, what would you say?
For me, I think we talked about this and it differs for the both of us, but for me, I think a lot of it is because I really enjoyed the community that we were in Lake Dallas. I think originally when we started thinking about the tiny homes and how we can turn that into some type of investment for our future, I was really for the idea of like the short-term rentals. But once we lived in the Lake Dallas tiny home community, I kind of just fell in love with the community itself and having like a group of people that you're, you know, y'all have a lot of things in common, and y'all are like kind of not on the exact same journey but are doing it for the exact reason, for a similar reason. So I enjoyed that, and I just would love to see that happen here at home. So
Speaking of the village in Lake Dallas, shout out to Terry Landtrip, the
yes.
developer there. He's been a huge support of our project so far, and we've been doing consultation calls with him, just trying to, you know, we kind of saw that project come together, you know, through his Facebook group and things like that. But now we're kind of getting more into the nitty gritty details of, you know, cost structure and you know all of the components that are going to go into it from the aspect of getting the city on board. And we're going to have to go through some public hearings. We're going to have to see the city planning commission, the city council. There's just so much, and he's been such a great support so far. For me, on the why, I would just say we've seen so many positive benefits right out of our journey living in the tiny house. It was a vehicle for us to pay off $125,000 worth of debt. It created an avenue for us to live in 3 different states in 3 years, to have opportunity for job flexibility, to create a channel where we garner so much support and love from people all over the world. And just seeing like all the opportunities that it's brought, you know, I really think that people deserve to live in a place that's desirable, but that also doesn't have to necessarily break the bank. And when you can reduce your cost of living, you can live more, I guess, so to speak.
Yes.
And it just opens the door for so many different things. And I would say that's probably the biggest thing for me. And then I think just the legacy of it now with the baby on the way, and just being able to build something, and to really set her up and potentially other kids in the future up, for success from a financial perspective, makes a huge difference as well. I know a lot of y'all might be thinking, great, like y'all are crazy, like y'all got a baby on the way. How y'all gonna pull this off? We know that it's gonna take some time, and like I said, if we did this in a year, I'd be extremely happy. But we're gonna slow down when the baby comes and take some time off and really just enjoy that time. But outside of that, this is kind of our next big project. I can't reiterate enough how important it is for us to get your feedback. If we can take some actual real life feedback to this first meeting, it goes
a long way.
It goes a long way on top of, you know, the other information that we're going to be bringing. So if you could click that link in the description below.
Yes.
Take that short 11 question survey. And let us know what you think, especially if you think that this community is something that you might be interested in and you live in or around the Kansas City area.
Yes, and as always, y'all, don't forget to comment if you have something to say. Like, share, subscribe if you're not already, because it doesn't cost a dime. And we love y'all. We'll see y'all in the next one. Baby says hi.
Peace.